You may not know my next guest's name, but I guarantee you've seen a couple of his movies or maybe a lot of them. Think The Beekeeper, The Batman, Argo, The Dark Knight Rises, 22 Jump Street, Jurassic World. Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on. All that's courtesy of Eddie Fernandez. He has been either a stunt performer or the stunt coordinator on those films, just absolutely making all the action and adventure you see on screen even better. And that's what we want at the end of the day, right? Realism, action, adventure, and of course, excitement. It's what Eddie Fernandez has been doing for decades. He actually ended up on a film set in the mid 80s. He was a mixed martial artist at the time, did some motocross racing as well, and essentially he never left. He's been working nonstop on TV and films since then. So many projects, so many different stunts and adventures, and he makes it all look easy. That's the fun part. Now, his latest project reunites him with action superstar Jason Statham. They're working together on A Working Man. It's a new film. It's based on the Chuck Dixon line of Levon Cade novels. And if Chuck Dixon's name sounds familiar, well, A, he's a great comic book writer, and B, we just had him on the show a week or two ago for a full conversation about this particular film. So we wanted to revisit A Working Man from a different perspective, this time from the stunt person's point of view. It's exactly what Eddie Fernandez delivers.
Excuse me, it's not your business.
I'm good, boss.
So do check it out. Of course, it's Jason Statham. You know exactly what he can bring to the screen, but it's what Eddie Fernandez does behind the scenes that makes it all possible. So enjoy this conversation, check out all the behind the scenes details, and then wonder why Jason Statham looks as heroic on screen as he does. Well, a good reason why is Eddie Fernandez.
Hey, Christian. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I love putting a spotlight on the work that you do. It's just talk about the unsung heroes of Hollywood. You guys make everything happen. I want to start. I want to get into Working Man in a minute, but just real quickly, you were a martial artist as a younger person.
Yeah.
You got work briefly as a stunt double. Was that sort of your gateway into this business? Talk a little bit about that and how you
You
entered
know
the
what?
game.
It was just, again, being in my youth, I was a trouble child. So my dad says, "You're getting into karate. You're going to learn some respect, and if you get into trouble, you're going to learn how to, defend yourself." Well, you know what? That taught me a lot. That taught me respect. It taught me coordinating,
Mhm.
balance, work ethics, because my instructor was really, hardcore. You didn't give him respect and bow when you got in the mat, you would get, on the butt.
Yeah.
So I guess I needed that in my life, but doing that got me into the business. No pun intended, but I fell into the business, knowing that a friend of mine was involved in stunts, and
Mhm.
finally I went in that area, and all of a sudden I got called to do something, and to feel that movement of in front of cameras and everything else was just a high, and there I go. Years later, here, this is where I'm at.
Yeah. What were the biggest kind of misconceptions about the business? It's one thing to be a moviegoer and see something on the big screen, but now you're involved in the process. You're seeing the fight scenes take shape. You're making them happen. What was sort of the biggest realization about how different it was than maybe what you expected?
Well, you know what? Like I said, I was a martial arts guy, and I was a pro kickboxer in my young years.
Mhm.
That it was full contact. To see all that on screen and the Bruce Lee fights and everything else, I always say, "Wow, those are good hits." And now to see how it is actually made by movie magic, that there's a safe way to do this and how to sell a punch and a kick with
Yeah.
camera. And there's tricks of the trade, and that's Hollywood. That's movie magic itself, Hollywood. But
Huh.
to that's a whole different thing. That's like now you have to perform your skills,
Mhm.
but do it in a way that you don't hurt anybody. We all go home, safe. And to me, that was a whole different, like no contact, no contact. But yeah, a little contact, but not as much.
Yeah.
So, to me, that was a great whole new life of mine, to see how to shoot that. And so now I really got into how to make fights look good.
Gotcha. You've been in the game for a while now. Has there anything changed dramatically about the stunt work that you do, the coordination, either the what happens in front of the camera or sort of the technology that comes into play? Is it the nuts and bolts still the same?
You know what? No, every year is going to change. I
Uh,
mean, when I started out, there was, we never heard of a a motorcycle flipping in the air 3 times and then landing. I mean, that's extreme stunts, I mean,
Yeah.
to me, those are all new tricks, of the trade. And the way these youth are performing some of these new sports, it's unbelievable, so, our category is becoming more and more like, got to go to the edge and really
Mhm.
learn a lot, from where I started. But to do that, you hire the right people,
Yeah.
and so, if there's somebody that's going to be on a motorcycle and, slide in this and that, he knows it. That's his specialty. So
Mhm.
you hire them, you tell them what you want. You say, this is what David Ayers has it on a script. This is what I'm thinking about. Now we're going to do it safe. I'm going to show you how we do it safe. I know you can do this, but we're going to do it safe so you can do multiple takes.
Mhm.
So a skill of knowing the tricks of the trade and knowing a person who you hire to perform that action and to have the objects or the items around you to perform all that action. It all comes to play. It's just one whole big dance move.
Mhm.
And
Every action movie is different. There's a different style, a different theme, a different mood. When you're working on a working man, d- does David Ayers say, "Hey, I want it to have this kind of feel"? Is there sort of a conversation before the shoot
Oh
begins
yeah,
where,
absolutely,
you know,
absolutely, yes, absolutely. We read the script, and sometimes I read the script, and I'm taking it to another level, and
mm,
then it's like, no, this is the level I'm looking at, and then I sit there and I listen to him, I talk to him, and then I look at the set, and then I'm like, got you, So
mm,
and he'll reel every department back in and say, no, it wasn't this way. I wrote it this way. This is my thoughts. And David has a great imagination,
mm,
So to be in his world is just so cool. So you learn so much from him,
yeah.
and so it's basically what his vision is, and we try to flow it that way so we move on to the next scene.
Now you've worked with Jason Statham for on many projects already. What makes him? I mean, he's on screen. He's a flawless action star. Doesn't seem to age. We just need to does it like he's 20 years old. But from your perspective, being a stunt coordinator and knowing this business, how is he different? What does he bring to the table that maybe other actors maybe can't for whatever reason?
I said this before. What he brings to the table is his energy,
Uh-huh.
and he's very athletic person. He was a pro diver back in the
Mhm.
day, and for him to know air where he's at, the sense is easier if when he's doing a fight. He knows where the next person is going to be. He knows the
Yeah.
next punch is going to be. He knows that if he turns around, that person's going to be there, and so he's very air savvy. And not only that, he's very athletic. He could
Hmm.
just pick up things, and it's so funny because I watched him. Out of all the actors I've done many action star actors. He's the one who always brings the energy up,
Mhm.
and he trains. He's like Keanu Reeves. He trains and trains and trains, and Keanu did a great job on the Wicks movie. Jason does the same thing. He trains, he
Yeah.
trains, he puts his input in there, and he's there. He's watching, what we're doing. And then he comes in and he perfects it, and he does it, and he does it. So 90% of what you see on the screen is Jason because
Mhm.
he knows the steps and he could do it safely.
Yeah. One of the things I liked about the movie is that he's not a superhero per se. He's not he gets hurt, he gets hit. He's just a regular man with these incredible skills. Talk about sort of making it more realistic in that fashion. I'm sure there are little things that you can do to make it seem less superheroic and more like just a guy who knows how to take care of business.
Yeah, well, I mean, the way David wrote it was, uh, he was down on his luck. He had no family. In the storyline, he lost his family,
Mhm.
and taken by a Latino family. That Michael Pena is a great actor
Yeah.
who is his boss who took care of him and said, hey, I'm part, it made him, he's part of the family. So now to see that somebody from your family is taken away, it's like that's where he's a hardworking man, and he just says, hey, you just pushed the wrong button. Now I need to find out where she's at. And it's for him to start thinking, I need to get to her, not all just fight, 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 hands. It's like there's a story to it. And it's
Mhm.
like he's barreling through all these fights to get to see where she's at, where Jenny's at, and save her and bring her back home for his boss.
Gotcha.
There's a moment there of family.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at the script, you're kind of mentally thinking, how this will happen. You're planning. Was there a particular scene in this film that you thought, okay, this is going to be the biggest challenge. This is the one that's gonna cause enough work for me, or
Oh yeah, there was a couple. There was a couple. I think one of the challenges were in the van fight, because you're
Mhm.
looking at a small area and you got like four people fighting in
Yeah.
one small area while it's spinning, taking a tumble, and that was a little thing. It was a challenging thing to do because you want to throw Jason in there to
Mhm.
see him perform, and Jason's the guy. He says, "Yep, I'm going in there." I go, "Yeah, you are, okay." So we had this mechanical moving part, and he's in there jumping from one side of the van to the other side of the van and throwing people down. So to see him do that,
Mhm.
and that's the best thing for a director, to see the actual uh, superhero do it without putting a stunt double in there. It's great. So Jason's one of those guys that I know that he could do any stunt possible, but sometimes we have to say,
Mhm.
no, this is too dangerous. We don't want you to get hurt, because what happens when you get hurt? Production stops.
Yeah.
So there's some, but I say 90% of the what you see is all Jason.
Well, now, someone like Jason, who's done this forever, and a Tom Cruise, who's famous for doing so many of his own stunts, do you find that actors are more willing today to go in that direction maybe than 20, 30 years ago?
I think those are just special people, because not so many. I mean, there's good actors out there that they're not athletic.
Mm.
Their dialogue, their movements, and everything else says a story. And but for them to do a physical, uh, sometimes they just don't have it. And that's why we
Yeah.
bring in stunt doubles, to make them look good. But with Jason and like Sylvester Stallone and Keanu Reeves, those guys,
Yeah.
they train hard. They train
Yeah.
hard. Those are the ones they've proven to us that they could take the beating as
Mhm.
given, So then at the studio say, you know what, let them do it.
CGI has become such an important part of the toolkit for filmmakers. How much does it affect the work that you do, or is that something that just happens afterwards and you don't have to worry about that kind of thing?
CGI to me, it's something that it's happening. It's been happening, and every year there's something else, AI and all that's starting to come in.
Mhm.
Uh, I talked to David about this, and David says, it's not the same. He goes, because when you physically do the action with the cast members, it brings a different aura, and
Yeah.
everybody's energy's there. But yeah, anybody could throw CGI fire or whatever. It just doesn't look, to me, it doesn't look the same. I could catch it. A lot of
Yeah.
people, they're getting used to seeing it. I don't know. I still say go to the big screen, see the movie itself on the big screen. Go to the theaters. Don't watch it in stream, channels. Go to
Mhm.
the theaters and see, feel the noise, feel the feelings of the actors, and feel, just the
Mhm.
or the sound. You're there. You're part of
Mhm.
that. You're part of that movie.
Yeah. You work with so many big names and people like Jason who know action backwards and forwards, but I'm sure you get a lot of people who come on the set and they're green, they're new, they haven't done an action movie before. What do you tell them at the jump? What is their sort of your core message about the process if they haven't been introduced to it yet?
I would tell them what George Lopez told me. So you want to be an actor, huh? Yeah. So,
Uh,
it's one of those, you got to just jump in, and
mhm.
hopefully your work ethics
Right.
are there, and you're willing to train hard to get that action performance out there on the screen.
Gotcha. And you worked with him on Blue Beetle, is that correct?
Yes, I double
Okay.
George on Blue Beetle. Yes, yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
This may be like saying what's your favorite child, but is there a particular film in your past, because you've done so many great films, where you think, oh my gosh, this is something that really, I'm really proud of that particular, the stunts in this film are really just something that I could look back on when I'm an old man and say, wow, I did that. That was amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, but the one that I think that really stuck out, because it changed, where I almost changed careers, and it was I did a movie with Ron Howard called Backdraft,
Mhm.
and I was involved in that fire, and then I started seeing how this. I mean, to me, it was the most dangerous scenes ever, and then seeing it on the big screen, it was like, when I got done, I was like, maybe I want to be a fireman. Yeah, forget the stunts. I want to be a fireman. I want to be that glory of saving somebody's lives.
Mhm.
But that's a lot of that's me. To this day, I do a lot in Chicago Fire, and I put those gears on, and I'm going up and down the stairs saving people. It's hard. It's cardio work, and it's one of the hardest jobs out there. But
Yeah.
I think with the movie Backdraft was something that I was like, sticks in my head.
Yeah. Well, last question. If someone was maybe graduating from college or loved movies and really enjoys the stunt work and maybe has seen some of your films, what advice would you give them about entering the business? Because I'm sure it's not easy.
It's a young subject. You got to be young, healthy, athletic,
Uh-huh.
and willing to uh, step up and there's no fear in some of these things you have to do. As long as you practice and you have
Mhm.
the confidence, I think you'll be able to make that next move where it's on the edge,
Yeah.
and go home safe, and everybody else goes home safe, so
Gotcha.
that's what it is. I mean,
Yeah. Well, you've
athletic.
been able to do that for so long. Eddie, thank you for joining the show and thanks for your work on A Working Man. Of course, the movie comes out March 28th in theaters everywhere. Jason Statham, enough said, and this is the guy who makes it all happen. So, Eddie, thanks again.
Go see it.
Hope you enjoyed this bonus episode of the Hollywood in Toto podcast. Of course, do check out A Working Man in theaters March 27th nationwide. Jason Statham, action adventure. What else do you need to hear? But I love giving a shout out to Eddie and a lot of his colleagues as well. These stunt performers, they put their lives on the line. They risk it all. They make the action scenes and sequences we see look better, sharper, more outrageous, more adventurous. And they don't get enough love. They don't get enough attention. But that's why we're here, to shine a light on the people who are making the movies better and brighter than ever before. It's exactly what Eddie Fernandez does. So if you get a chance, of course, do check out HollywoodInToto.com. It is the right take on entertainment. And while it's a politically charged website from time to time, I will not deny that. But this conversation was completely apolitical. Isn't that refreshing? We need that from time to time as well. So the next time you see an action adventure movie, just think about the people who make it all possible, not just the Jason Stathams and the Tom Cruises of the world, but the Eddie Fernandezes. They make it look so easy, but of course it's anything but. Lots of hard work, lots of planning, lots of dedication. That's what stars like Eddie Fernandez do behind the scenes. God bless them. Love you, Eddie. Glad we had a chance to talk, and I hope to talk to more stunt performers in the weeks and months to come because they've got some great stories to tell. So go out there and have the best day possible. Doctor's orders.